You've heard all the usual underrated classics by now. This? This is not that. These are the films that got buried, ignored, or completely forgotten. No studio push, no streaming hype, no one telling you they're must-see, but every single one deserves to be on your watch list. You probably haven't seen them. That's exactly why you should. The Gray Fox, 1982. A man steps out of prison after 30 years, hat in hand, coat over his arm. No destination, no future. The world has moved on without him. That's how The Gray Fox opens. Quiet, unhurried, deeply human. Based on the true story of Bill Miner, a stagecoach robber released in 1901, it follows his return to a world he no longer recognizes. Trains have replaced horses. The frontier is gone. But Miner, played with astonishing grace by Richard Farnsworth, carries on, with dignity, curiosity, and a quiet resilience. There's no action-fueled redemption arc here. No grand speech. Farnsworth barely raises his voice. Every gesture, every pause, says more than words could. The performance is so honest, so lived in, you don't watch it, you feel it. Shot in British Columbia, the landscapes are vast, but gentle. They don't overpower him, they surround him, like memory. There's almost no violence, no chaos. The film respects stillness, it honors age, and it understands that displacement isn't always loud. It won awards in Canada, earned quiet praise, but in the US, it slipped past unnoticed. No major marketing, no revival hype. It remains in the margins, but that's where it belongs, among films that do not need to be loud to be lasting. A soft elegy for a man and a time already gone. The Reflecting Skin. Visually, it's stunning. Endless golden wheat fields under a burning prairie sun. But nothing feels alive. Rural America looks alien, like it's quietly unraveling into darkness. The story follows a young boy named Seth, trying to make sense of the bizarre, terrifying things happening around him. Dead bodies begin appearing. A mysterious woman nearby. He becomes convinced she's a vampire. His older brother, played by a young, almost silent Viggo Mortensen, returns from war, traumatized, detached. This isn't horror in the usual sense. It's not fantasy either. It's trauma and grief, filtered through a child's imagination. And that's what makes it disturbing. The tone keeps shifting. One moment it's visually lyrical, the next it's deeply upsetting. That unease never leaves. The visuals don't offer comfort, they trap you, wide open fields that feel suffocating. Everything is bright yet somehow haunted. When it was released, it confused people. Too strange, too bleak. It didn't fit anywhere. For years it was nearly impossible to find. But now, it lingers. Childhood as confusion, as dread, not nostalgia, something fading before you can even understand it. It's not for everyone, but if it finds you, it never leaves. Crazy Joe, 1974. This film feels raw. Before Goodfellas, before Donnie Brasco, no romantic voiceover, no glossy allure, just cold streets and cheap bars. And at the center, a man who knows he will not live to see old age. A real-life mobster, loud, unpredictable, dangerous, but this never romanticizes him. It stays low to the ground, gritty, intense. Everything feels close, too loud. Like Gallo himself. Unstable, chaotic, barely contained. The editing reflects that fast, clipped, jarring. You feel the pressure, the world closing in. A man reacting, not planning, just surviving. Barely. You can see the budget constraints, the rough edges, but they work. There's no polish here, no slick style, just truth. And Boyle's performance, not slick, not charming, but commanding. He has presence, a dangerous one, unfiltered. The film came and went, swallowed by bigger, more epic mafia stories. But it deserves a look. Because it shows you the cost, not the legend, not the rise. Just the raw, bitter collapse of a man who knew his end was always waiting just around the corner. Love lost films? Subscribe to VintageVerse, if you haven't already, where hidden gems get their spotlight. Coherence, 2013. A dinner party, friends catching up, wine flowing, small talk. Then, the power flickers, phones stop working, and someone outside looks exactly like someone already inside. No explanation, no build-up, just the slow, terrifying sense that something is very, very wrong. Coherence traps you in that feeling, the panic, the confusion, the sense that reality itself is starting to bend and no one can be trusted. What makes it more unsettling? The actors were given only character outlines, no scripts. Their fear, their tension, it's real. They're reacting in real time, just like their characters. The film does not hold your hand. No backstory dump, no flashy effects, no music cue telling you how to feel. You piece it together as they do, and that makes it scarier. Alternate versions of yourself, choices, splitting timelines, and no way back to normal. It's clever, quiet science fiction. Done with almost no budget, but total commitment, and yet, no buzz, no release push, still overlooked. But once you've seen Coherence, it stays with you. Not because of what it shows, but because of what it makes you feel. Doubt, paranoia, that terrifying question. What if you are the copy? City of the Dead, 1960. You step off a bus into thick, unmoving fog. A small New England town, Whitewood, feels frozen in time. No one on the streets, shops closed, shadows watching. From the very first frame, something feels wrong. A young woman arrives to do research on witchcraft, but what she finds isn't folklore, it's real, it's alive. And it's waiting. The atmosphere is everything. The fog never lifts, the silence hangs heavy. You feel like you're being watched. And then, Christopher Lee appears. Young, sharp, calm, and terrifying. Even in a quiet role, his presence is magnetic. There's a twist halfway through, one that was genuinely shocking in 1960. Long before horror relied on jump scares and gore, this film took a bolder risk, and it worked. But in the US, it was retitled Horror Hotel, packaged as cheap exploitation, often shown on double bills with grindhouse fare. Totally misrepresented, totally buried. But City of the Dead is serious, slow-burning gothic horror. It lingers, it unsettles, and when watched alone, late at night, in the dark, it still has the power to crawl under your skin. The dish, the single biggest television broadcast in human history, Apollo 11's moon landing, and the crucial signal feed for a huge part of the world came from a massive satellite dish, sitting in the middle of a quiet Australian sheep paddock. That's the premise. But this film is not about astronauts or mission control. It's about a small, local team of Aussie technicians trying to hold it together during one of the most important moments ever televised. It's not flashy, it's about nerves, quiet pride, awkwardness, and this stubborn belief that they can actually pull it off. Sam Neill leads the team, gentle, grounded, and quietly determined. The tone walks a tricky line. It's funny, light, but it never undermines the historical moment. The emotion builds through the small-town rhythm, through character, through watching ordinary people do something extraordinary with no margin for error. Massive hit in Australia. Internationally, barely made a ripple. Too quiet, too local, too modest to register with the blockbuster machine. But that's exactly what makes it special. It's about collaboration, about grace under pressure, about how a handful of people, far from the spotlight, help the world witness history. Get the Gringo. You literally crash through the US-Mexico border fence, wearing a clown mask, bleeding, car stuffed with stolen cash, only to somehow land in this truly bizarre place. A Mexican prison that operates less like a prison and more like a self-contained, completely lawless city. They call it El Pueblito. Unapologetically pulpy, pure crime flick territory. Mel Gibson is not just the star. He helped fund it. He co-wrote it. He basically willed this thing into existence during a time when Hollywood was keeping him at arm's length. No theatrical release at all. Just dropped straight onto video on demand. Vanished into the digital ether for most people. That's borderline criminal. This film is genuinely better than a huge chunk of the action flicks that did get wide releases that year. It's lean, it's violent, and it's got this wonderfully dark, ragged sense of humor. Even some Mel Gibson fans have never seen this one, which is wild because it might be his most underappreciated performance in years. He plays this career criminal, ragged around the edges, navigating an insane, corrupt system purely on grit, smarts, and killer timing. No moral speech, no redemption arc, just survival. That prison city gives it this totally unique, surreal energy. The tone is tight, the action hits fast. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's definitely smarter than it looks. A clever, criminally underseen flick that goes straight for the jugular, a real hidden gem. Chinese coffee. It's cold outside. Both guys are broke, way after midnight. Just two old friends, talking, arguing, dredging up old memories. And underneath it all, you feel the slow, painful unraveling of their friendship, maybe their whole lives. The core theme cuts deep. Failure. Disillusionment. What's left when all those big dreams have fizzled out? You've got Al Pacino as Harry Levine, a struggling, maybe bitter writer. And the late, great Jerry Orbach as his oldest friend, a critic who maybe knows Harry a little too well. Sometimes cruelly so. The setting is bare, almost claustrophobic. One apartment, but memory keeps bleeding in. Not jarringly, it builds depth, history, resentment, affection worn down by time. Pacino directed this one himself. No flash, no trademark theatrics, just a small, intimate collision between two men circling really difficult truths about friendship, about failure, about that terrifying quiet fear of becoming irrelevant. It's tight, very dialogue-driven. It doesn't rush. The silences hang heavy. Each pause lands like a blow. It demands your attention, not with spectacle, but with brutal human honesty. This is a film about what gets said when there's really nothing left to lose, and the quiet weight of knowing someone for a very, very long time. It feels real. It stays with you. Last of the Dogmen. You enter this vast, untouched stretch of Montana wilderness, miles of forest and silence. Time feels suspended. That's where this begins. Last of the Dogmen sets its tone immediately. Stillness, respect, discovery. Tom Berenger plays Lewis Gates, a rugged tracker hunting escaped convicts. But instead of fugitives, he discovers a hidden Cheyenne tribe, untouched by the modern world, surviving in complete isolation. That idea alone is arresting, and the film doesn't treat it like a plot twist. It treats it with reverence. This is not an action movie. It's a quiet story about culture, about trust, and the painful beauty of something nearly lost. The pacing is slow, deliberate. There's no rush, because trust cannot be rushed, and that's exactly what the film is after. Not conquest, not shock, but respect. Berenger is at his best here. Wounded, searching. Barbara Hershey gives it weight and warmth, and David Arnold's score, at times soaring, at times intimate, matches the scale of the wilderness and the small human story inside it. The film was barely noticed when it arrived. Poor marketing. No major awards buzz, but its heart never left. Over time, it found quiet appreciation from those who stumbled onto it. Viewers willing to slow down and listen. In a world obsessed with noise, Last of the Dogmen stands as something rare, a film that honors silence, tradition, and the invisible threads that connect us across time. This one's from 1998. The hook for me immediately was the actor involved, Christopher Lee. He actually said this was the role, above Dracula, above everything. This was the one he most wanted to be remembered for. The film is about Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the leader in the creation of Pakistan during the collapse of the British Empire. Much like Dogmen, this isn't presented as a standard historical epic. It isn't a simple heroic narrative. It's quiet, understated. It focuses on the immense weight of leadership, the personal toll those decisions take, and the quiet man at the center of it all. Lee's performance is restrained, measured, not his usual grand presence. He inhabits Jinnah as someone who spoke softly, but carried the weight of nations on his shoulders. No major studio would touch it. Too political, too complex. Lee helped fund it himself. He took the role seriously and delivered one of the most profoundly human performances of his career. But it never got the international push it needed. Jinnah isn't trying to create myth. It shows a man wrestling with impossible choices, dealing with pressure, trying to be honest rather than legendary. It's not flashy, but that quiet honesty, that's its power. When you watch it, you understand why Lee felt it was his most important work. Thanks for watching VintageVerse, where forgotten films find a second life. If even one of these movies sticks with you, hit that like button and drop a comment below. We've got more hidden gems on the way, so subscribe and keep the reels turning. See you in the next one.